Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, depending on what time of day you are watching this orientation. My name is Crystal Johnson. I direct the Chicago Metro History Day program, and I will be your primary point of contact for questions about judging. Before we begin, we want to take this moment to thank you for judging this year. Your work as a judge is a really important part of the History Day civic learning experience. Judging provides valuable feedback that helps students refine their research and communication skills, gives students a platform to showcase their hard work and creativity, and engages the community in a dialogue about the past. We also want to thank our program sponsors, the Minnow Family Foundation and the Lawler Foundation, our contest host, the University of Illinois Chicago, and our many special prize sponsors. History Day serves nearly 10,000 students from schools all across the Chicago metro area. We serve all kinds of students in all kinds of schools. Big schools, little schools, public schools, private schools, neighborhood schools and selective enrollment schools, city schools, suburban schools, schools in high-income environments and low-income environments, all races, all genders, kids with disabilities, and those who are gifted with many special talents. This year, we're also excited to welcome several brand new schools. One of our biggest guiding principles is that History Day is for everybody. All voices matter in the study of history and in History Day. All stories are welcome. Whether you are a kid who is inspired by the history of sports or politics or cultural history or the arts or science, there's a home for you in History Day. This is one place in students' school experience where they get to study something that matters to them and present their ideas in a way that works for them. You are their first impression of the history world. So your biggest responsibility as a judge is to make sure that those kids leave the History Day experience feeling more excited about this discipline that we all love than they were before. Whether the project that you see is the best project you've ever looked at or one that makes you question how it advanced to the regional contest, your job is to be kind and welcoming. First, let's take a moment to see where we're at in the contest cycle. History Day is a program that reaches most students at the school level. The majority of students who participate in History Day never make it to a contest, so the kids that you will meet have already excelled. Each school selects which projects will advance to the regional contest. We will have almost 1,500 students participating at the regional level. The top projects at the regional level will advance to the state contest coordinated by the Illinois State Museum, and then the top two projects in each division and category will then advance to nationals, which will be held at the University of Maryland in College Park in June. We are at the regional level, the first official contest stage. Next, we would like to introduce ourselves. We have several new staff members this year. If you need help during the contest, please look to these faces for assistance. My name is Crystal. I'm the manager of Chicago Metro History Day. Our history learning specialist is Paige McCoy-Niendorf. Our new program associate is Max Lewinton. And we are very excited to have 5 interns this spring: Rachel, Jared, Noah, Jacob, and Andrew. If you need help during the contest, these are the staff members that you will look for. Also, we want to give you a moment to insert this phone number into your phone. If you need help on competition day, we have a Google Voice line that reaches multiple staff members. You can call or text 312-772-5426 for assistance on competition day. Again, the number is 312-772-5426. Today's orientation will review the timeline and contest format, the contest theme, rules and judging criteria, our evaluation rubric, the judging toolkit, and next steps. First, let's take a look at our contest timeline and format. We are happy to have fully in-person contests once again this year. Our Senior Division contest will be Saturday, February 28th. Our Junior Division contest will be Saturday, March 7th. Both contests will be held at the University of Illinois Chicago Student Center East, 750 South Halsted. If you park in the lot directly across the street from the Student Center, we will provide parking vouchers. We will send transit and parking instructions a couple of days before the event by email. Student registration closes on February 19th. It will take several days after that to finish processing registrations. Judges are usually assigned early in the week prior to the Saturday contest. Paper, website, and podcast judges are the first judges to receive their assignments because judges in these categories evaluate their projects in advance of interviews on contest day. After that, we will assign documentary, exhibit, and performance entries to their judging slots. Documentary, exhibit, and performance students may continue to revise their projects up until the contest, so we ask that judges in those categories do not look at their entries until they are shared on contest day. We will start assigning junior division judges as soon as the senior division contest has concluded, again with paper and websites and podcast assigned first. We will have 2 time slots on each judging day. Check-in begins at 8 a.m. for the morning session or at 1 p.m. for the afternoon session. We will have food, so it pays to check in early. We will have a live judge orientation before judging begins for those of you who might not be able to watch the orientation in advance. Judging will start at 9 a.m. or 2 p.m. Most judges will evaluate between 6 and 8 entries, wrapping up their judging and interviews by 12:30 or 5:30. Now let's look at the contest theme and rules. This year's theme is Revolution, Reaction, Reform, and History. National History Day uses a theme to provide a focus for topic selection and to help support students in beginning to construct their argument. It is big and broad on purpose to give students a lot of leeway to find a topic that works for them. Students may choose any topic that connects to the annual theme. The student's task is to justify how their topic fits the annual theme and demonstrates historical significance. It is difficult to demonstrate historical perspective for very recent topics that are still unfolding. If historians are not yet writing about that subject, that might be a red flag that this topic may be too recent for appropriate historical analysis. It is not the judge's job to decide whether or not the topic fits the theme. The judge's job is to figure out if the student made a convincing case connecting their topic to the theme through their work. You may see topics that you personally like, dislike, are really excited about, or are tired of seeing, but none of those feelings should get in the way of your evaluation of the project. You must diligently check yourself for any biases for or against particular topics or arguments. Stick to the rubric. We encourage you to look at the theme narrative and introductory video that can be found at nhd.org/theme. Links to these materials are also available in the Judge Toolkit. The theme helps students begin to ask historical questions and think historically about their topic. For example, in a project about the Montgomery bus boycott, students might address how the boycott was a reaction to segregation, what reforms emerged after the boycott, and how strategies used in the boycott helped to revolutionize the fight for civil rights. It can sometimes be difficult for students to tell if a change was a reform or a revolution. Reforms happen when people work to change something for the better without getting rid of it. Words like improve, correct, alter, adjust, adapt, amend tend to signal reform. Reform is like fixing your car. You keep the same car, but you make it better when you get new tires. Revolution, on the other hand, is dramatic and wide-reaching change. Revolution happens when people want to do things in an entirely new way or completely change the way that people think about something. Rebellion, revolt, transformation, disruption, and innovation are clue words for revolution. To use our car analogy, revolution is like buying a new car instead of fixing the old one, or perhaps even inventing a whole new kind of transportation. Either way, it's the student's responsibility to tell you why they think the topic was a revolution or a reform. Whether the student is focused on a revolution or a reform, all History Day projects this year should have some discussion about reaction. Reaction is how someone or something responds to what has happened. It could be that a reaction to the status quo sparks the revolution or reform, or reaction could be the impact of the topic. Your goal as a History Day judge is to ensure that all students have a positive and meaningful experience at History Day. You do this by being aware of bias, providing positive and constructive comments, and working as a team. Let's tackle that first one, bias. Everyone has things that they are more interested in or know more about. Make sure that you show an equal amount of interest in each project and take the students seriously. Here are some ways that bias can show up in History Day judging. Non-traditional history topics, for example, pop music, sports, or fashion. These may not be your cup of tea for historical analysis, but they are part of history and they may interest students. Oral sources. Cultural traditions and stories handed down over the generations are just as valuable as History Day sources as other kinds of sources. In fact, for certain topics, they may be more reflective of particular perspectives than written sources. Resonant topics. Those you absolutely love or feel passionate about one way or another are a risk for potential bias. Consider whether a topic triggers you. Political. Be aware that political topics connected to current events, directly or indirectly, may be a source of bias as well. Cultural or disability differences. Be aware that students coming from different cultures or different abilities may present themselves differently or have different historical interests than you. For example, some students may not make eye contact or shake hands, or their topic may not be something that you know well. Provide positive and constructive comments. Both are equally important. At the end of the day, you want the students to understand why you evaluated their work the way that you did. The evaluation rubric is your tool. Students will review your evaluations very carefully as they try to understand why you did or did not advance their entry. Help them by checking boxes in the same range and writing clear, unambiguous, and constructive comments. Work as a team. Your goal is to achieve consensus with your partner judges. The role of the captain is to collect paperwork and ensure that it gets to the History Day staff. They are not the boss or the ruler of the group. Every judge's opinion matters equally. We ask that our judges please review the contest rules. You can view them in the Judge Toolkit or at nhd.org/rulebook. Specifically, we would like to draw your attention to the general rules for all categories on page 14. This covers things like the required written materials. After you have been assigned to a judging category, you'll also need to review the rules for that category. We have also put in the Judge Toolkit an at-a-glance version of the rules for each category. It doesn't list every rule, but it does provide a quick reference tool for the most commonly asked rules questions. If you're not sure how to interpret a rule, please ask us. Most rule violations in History Day are minor infractions or major infractions. Minor infractions are things that do not provide a competitive advantage. Things like providing the school name on the process paper or exceeding the word count by a few words. We would note these issues in the comments, but it wouldn't prevent an entry from advancing. A major infraction is a rule violation that causes one entry to have a significant advantage over another entry. For example, an extra paragraph in an exhibit display or an extra 30 seconds in a documentary. This kind of rule violation is something that we would look at more carefully because it creates an unlevel playing field. If the judges feel like the infraction is serious enough that it caused an advantage over another entry that played by the rules, you may decide that the entry should not advance to the next level. And judges, this is very important. Please do not use the word disqualification when you are around students, parents, or teachers. Disqualified means removal from the competition. Judges can recommend disqualification, but it's the contest coordinator who will make the call if the project is to be disqualified, normally in consultation with a national office. There are only 4 things that cause disqualification: entering a project in multiple contests or categories within a contest year, reusing an entry or research from a previous year, plagiarism, or tampering with another entry. Your judging toolkit provides guidance about how to handle artificial intelligence. While there is always potential for students to misuse AI, teachers are our first line of defense. Most teachers observe students' work developing over many weeks or months. They know their students' writing styles and knowledge base best. In most cases, they have also provided feedback on the students' developing entry at several stages throughout the project. Teachers do not knowingly advance entries to competition with serious academic integrity concerns. Our general principle is that students may use AI in ways that are consistent with how they might consult with people, such as brainstorming topics, basic proofreading, or suggesting keywords or sources that the student then locates. Students may not use AI to do the thinking for them or to create elements of their final project, as this violates National History Day's rules. Interview questions like, how did you create your project? How did you conduct your research? Or, tell me how you analyzed your primary sources, will give you insights into the student's process. If a student says something that seems like an inappropriate use of AI, please talk to a contest coordinator. AI detection tools are unreliable, and guidance for how to use AI appropriately is still developing, so conversations with the students and careful examination of the student's work are still our best tools to better understand the authenticity of their project. Let's take a closer look at the evaluation criteria and the judging rubrics. 80% of History Day evaluation is based on historical quality. Here we are looking at the strength of the student's historical argument, their integration of the National History Day theme, wide research, primary sources, historical context, multiple perspectives, historical accuracy, and significance in history. These criteria are applied equally across all categories. We will examine these criteria in closer detail in the coming slides. The second part of History Day evaluation varies by category. Clarity of presentation comprises 20% of the History Day evaluation. This part of the evaluation examines how well the students use the medium of their category to communicate their ideas. For example, in categories that are visual in nature, such as documentaries or exhibits, the rubric may ask questions about how well the visuals support the argument. Here you are looking at a copy of what the print evaluation forms look like. The first page, Historical Quality, is the same for all categories. You will see column headers that say Exemplary, Proficient, Developing, and Novice. We will see some close-ups of this language in a moment. You will also see the option Not Evident. You should only mark Not Evident if it is completely missing from the project. Remember, you are judging projects at the regional level. This is the first stage of competition. You are not judging national entries. These projects will not be as polished at the local level. Students who come away with all novice markings may feel like their work is not worthy. Be kind and remember what level you are judging. You do not need for every checkmark to be exactly the same as your partner judges, but they should be near one another. If one judge marks exemplary and another judge marks novice or developing, this sends a message that judging is not consistent. Try to keep most of your scores within one column of each other. The second page, Clarity of Presentation, is slightly different based on category. Clarity of presentation criteria will focus on key elements of that category, as well as technical skills and student voice. This page also has space to indicate rules compliance. These are yes/no questions, meaning is the rule followed or not. Use the comment space to explain as needed. If there is a rules compliance issue, all judges need to mark it the same way. Comments are probably the most important part of your evaluation form. I regularly speak with alumni who have long since graduated from high school, and they remember your words and how they felt about what you said about their projects. Over half of your comments should be specific things that you enjoyed, appreciated, or felt the students did well. Whether it is the best project in your room or the last project in your room, every kid who attends this competition deserves to hear what they did well. Also, they need to know what they can do better. This is especially important for your top 2 projects, which will advance to the state contest. They need to know specific ideas for improvements that they can make within the next few weeks before submitting their projects to state. Also, your students who didn't do as well need ideas about how they can improve if they participate in History Day again in the future. These comments should be framed constructively, not negatively. Instead of saying weak research, say, next time you might want to consider using newspapers. Instead of saying poor theme connection, you could say your argument might be strengthened by integrating the concepts of rights and responsibilities. Expect quality, but remember that you are evaluating the work of young students who are just beginning to learn historical research, project development, and presentation techniques. This may be the first time that they've been asked to make an argument or to learn the difference between paraphrasing or quoting or their own words, or how to create a citation. Making minor mistakes is part of the learning process, especially at the first level of the competition. You can help them to learn how to do history better through your comments. Remember, the students have taken on a lot during these last several years. They're still bouncing back from several not normal years. Please make this a positive learning experience for them, including during and after the contest. We want to provide examples of some common challenges we see with evaluation comments and an example of stronger comments. History Day's evaluation system requires written comments to be at least 500 characters in length. This sounds like a lot, but is usually only about 3 to 4 substantive sentences. You need to be especially careful to write enough words if you submit handwritten evaluations. A frequent challenge that History Day staff face when we transcribe your written evaluations into ZFAIRs is not having enough feedback to meet the 500-character requirement. Make sure that you have provided enough comments so that we are able to save and return your evaluations to students. History Day evaluations should be unique to the project. If the comments could be applied to any project, it may give the student the sense that you didn't look carefully enough at their work. Try to find specific things about the project that you liked or felt needed development. Mention those directly. Comments like, "I was really impressed by your use of Ida B. Wells' speeches," or "the photographs from the 1963 boycott were powerful," show that you paid attention to what the student was saying. Be careful about comments that could be perceived as too critical by students and their teachers. Remember that we want History Day judges to focus at least half their comments on positive features about the project. It can be tempting to list every single thing that you find problematic in an entry. However, students learn best when they have opportunities to hear what they did well, along with focused ideas on areas of improvement. Strike a balance. A comment like this might leave a student feeling like they did nothing right in their project. It might leave them feeling discouraged by their study of history. However, every project that is here today is here because they rose to the top in their schools. They completed the project when other students might not have. There is something worth complimenting in every entry. Here is an example of comments that provide more helpful feedback to students. The comments start off with specific feedback about something the students did well. It mentions specific aspects of the project that were solid, like theme connection, the different kinds of impact, and archival research. It provides 2 concrete suggestions for improvement, and it ends on a positive note. In addition to writing comments, you will mark the evaluation on a scale from exemplary to not evident. Here, remember that you are at the regional level. Many of you have judged at state or nationals where a higher standard may be in play. We are at the first stage of the process. What is exemplary at regionals and what is exemplary at nationals are different bars. One of the most important elements of the History Day project is that students must make an argument. We want to see a clear thesis and claims and evidence that develop that thesis. You should see the historical argument in the process paper and in the project itself. Hopefully the student made the same argument in both. This year's theme is Revolution, Reaction, Reform in History. Students need to go beyond just using the words Revolution, Reaction, Reform. They need to connect to the fundamental ideas expressed in this year's theme. The connection should be evident and meaningfully explored throughout the project, not just a brief mention or segregated in a small portion of the project. Whether it's a revolution or a reform, the student should explain the reaction. Wide research. Here we are looking for a wide variety of sources. Students should use books, articles, websites, newspapers, diaries, photographs, interviews, videos, and more. It is really important that they have both secondary sources and primary sources. Both types of sources are equally important. Internet sources are okay, provided that they are credible. Consider that some topics will lend themselves to a wider variety of types of sources than others. Primary sources are connected to an event by time or participation and may include things like eyewitness accounts, letters, speeches, diaries, images, artifacts, newspaper articles, oral history interviews, or oral traditions. Basically, things that were created during the time period that students were studying or things that were created by people who were there. Students sometimes confuse primary and secondary sources. Look to their annotations for how they use the sources. Sometimes students will include their rationale for classifying a source as primary or secondary in cases where that might not be clear from the title alone. Students should be using these to develop their topic. This is the evidence that should support their argument. Focus on quality over quantity. Not all topics lend themselves to the same amount of primary sources. How they use the source to shape their thinking and their argument is what is most important. Historical context is the larger setting in which a topic took place. A student's topic didn't just appear out of nowhere. Students need to explain in their projects how events that were happening just before and at the same time helped shape the events that they studied. Economic, social, intellectual, religious, cultural, or political conditions may all be important to explain. Context can also be local, regional, national, or international. Has the student explained how these events are shaped by time and place? Multiple perspectives. To do deep history, you need to consider a range of viewpoints on the subject you are studying. You don't need to agree with those viewpoints, but you need to understand why people held competing beliefs about events in history. We ask History Day students to consider multiple and varied perspectives. We want to see that they have considered more than one point of view on the events they are studying. Historical accuracy. Remember, judges are not supposed to be content experts. You do not need to go do your own research to fact check every point in the project. That is not an appropriate use of judges' time. Instead, we ask you to think about accuracy in 3 ways. Is the project historically accurate? Is it free from mistakes and historical information? Is it credible? Do we have reason to believe what the student is arguing? And finally, is it without critical omissions? Has it included all the information needed for a complete understanding of this topic? Significance in history. Significance is where we ask students to consider the so what question. Why should we care about these events? Specifically, we want to see that the student has considered both short-term and long-term impacts or legacies. Students can also show significance in history by looking at change over time, or sometimes the lack of change. Finally, it's important to note that there is no contest rule that says that the student has to have a connection to today section in their project. This can be a good idea for some topics and a bad idea for other topics. It is more important that the students fully connect the dots to show how their topic directly influenced later events. Student voice appears in the clarity of presentation section of the evaluation. Student voice refers to the ideas and analysis of the student. Students sometimes rely too much on their sources speaking for them. For example, they'll cover an exhibit or website in quotes, perhaps as a way to get around the word limit. But by doing that, we don't know what the students think or what conclusions they have drawn. In particular, students tend to use quotes from secondary sources to explain their conclusions. Student voice gives us a way to address this problem and encourage students to take greater ownership of their projects. Do you hear the students' ideas? Do you hear the students' analysis in their statements? Who is doing the analytical work in this project? Quotes are okay, and sometimes they are really important to show evidence for a claim that the student is trying to make, but the project should be something original and unique to the student historian, not just a collection of quotes from historians. Remember, students are not professors. They are learning for the first time how to engage with a historical dialogue. Here are some examples of how a student's voice may go missing in a History Day project. The key here is to see a student analyze their sources and materials. Supporting evidence, such as quoted material from primary or secondary sources, should support and enhance, not overwhelm, the student's work. If you see any of these, include them in your judge's comments to help the students understand the importance of analyzing quoted materials. We encourage you to evaluate projects in this order. First, read the process paper. Second, read the annotated bibliography. Finally, view the project. If you're returning to judging after some time away, please be aware that the summary statement form has been replaced by the National History Day process paper. National History Day requires required written materials in every category, including a title page, process paper, and annotated bibliography. The process paper is a statement of no more than 500 words. It must answer 5 prompts. How did the students choose their topic and how does it relate to the annual theme? How did the students conduct the research for their project? How did the students create the project? What is the historical argument and how is the topic significant in history? Hopefully the historical argument or thesis that's presented in the process paper is the same thesis that you will find in the project itself. Please read the process paper and the annotated bibliography before you view the entry. Also, website judges should note that the website process papers and annotated bibliographies will be uploaded within the website. The homepage serves as the title page in the website category. The final piece of the required written materials is the annotated bibliography. The bibliography must include all sources that are consulted in the research for the project. It should be divided into 2 sections, one section for primary sources and one section for secondary sources. The process paper and annotated bibliography are not included in the project word count. Students may use either the Chicago Manual of Style or the MLA Handbook for their citations. Annotations for History Day may be a little bit different than annotations for other kinds of research projects. Specifically, National History Day has rules that the annotations be no longer than 2 to 3 sentences maximum, and they must address how the students used the source and how the source helped with understanding the topic. Students may also use their annotation to explain why they placed a source as primary or secondary in cases where that is unclear. Students do not need to provide a summary of the source in their annotation. Again, they should focus on how they use the source and how it helped with understanding their topic. Next, we have our Judge Toolkit and Wrap-Up. We will provide you a link to our Judge Toolkit, which is in Google Drive. It contains important information about the 2025 theme, the contest rulebook, sample NHD evaluation forms, and more. Paper website and podcast judges. If you're assigned as a paper website or podcast judge, you can expect that you will receive your judging assignment a few days before the competition via ZFairs. Check to make sure that you haven't been assigned to any students that you know personally. View and evaluate your entries in ZFairs before the competition. It's very important that you have an opportunity to evaluate the entries before you interview the students. On the day of the competition, you will interview the students, finish your evaluations and comments, and rank your entries with your judging teammates. Give students a ribbon after the interview concludes. If it's possible for you to bring a laptop or tablet to the event, you may find it most convenient to finish your evaluations online in ZFairs. Exhibit judges. You can expect that we will notify you 2 to 3 days before the contest if you are assigned to the exhibit category. When you check in on contest day, make sure that you haven't been assigned to any students that you know personally. Your category assignment may change depending on our judging needs. Judging begins with a 1-hour preview period where you'll have a chance to read and evaluate the entries prior to the students coming in to talk with you. After that preview period, each judging team will interview students on 15-minute time intervals. Please give the students a ribbon after the interview concludes. Following the interviews, you will return to the judging headquarters to confer with your teammates, rank the entries, and complete your evaluations and comments. We will have print evaluation forms for you to take notes about the projects, but you may find it most convenient to bring a laptop or tablet to finish your evaluations and comments in ZFairs while you are at the contest. Documentary and performance judges are also notified 2 to 3 days before the contest with their tentative category assignments. When you check in on contest day, make sure that you haven't been assigned to any students that you know personally, and be aware that your category assignment may change. You will judge entries on 20-minute time intervals. When you're ready for the students to perform or to present their documentary, please ask the students to enter the room and ask them for the required written materials. Please read this paperwork while they're setting up. When you're ready, ask them to begin. After viewing their project, spend a few minutes asking interview questions. Thank the students and give them their ribbon. Audience members may watch the documentaries and performances, but they should not enter while the presentation is in progress. Following the interviews, please return to the judge headquarters to confer with your teammates, rank the entries, and complete your evaluations and comments. We will have print evaluation forms for you to take notes about the projects, but we encourage you to bring a laptop or tablet to finish your evaluations and comments in ZFairs at the contest, if you have one. A few quick notes about how to make a successful interview. Please ask the students to come into the room when it is their turn. They may be waiting in the hallway outside the room, waiting for someone to let them know that it is their time to come in. Please do ask questions that give students a chance to share more about what they know or what they've done. Ask about their favorite sources, what they hope that the audience will take from their project, or what will stick with them from this experience. Show a genuine interest in and respect for their work, no matter the quality of the projects. This is also a time for you to use to ask the students to elaborate on something that you find intriguing or perhaps even confusing about their project. A few things that we ask that you not do in interviews. Please do not critique the projects during the interview. We know that some academic competitions are set up with that live feedback during the question and answer period, but that's not History Day. In History Day, we ask you to save your feedback for those written evaluation comments. Also, please do not ask gotcha questions. History Day interviews, especially at the regional level, should not feel like a thesis or dissertation defense. They should be fun for all. Finally, don't ask questions that may be too private, personal, or potentially uncomfortable. Those may easily be confused and misinterpreted by students, so please stay away from those areas of inquiry. There are two pieces to History Day evaluation and ranking. You will evaluate the entries based on the criteria that we have just described. When you are evaluating, you are measuring the project on criteria, not against other projects. It may very well be that you could be assigned lots of projects that are a similar level of quality on the evaluation criteria. It is possible that several projects could have similar markings on the evaluation rubric criteria. After you have evaluated the entries on the rubric criteria, we ask that you also think about how the projects in your judging set fared next to other projects in the same room. You will rank all of the entries that you have been assigned. If you've been assigned 7 projects, you will rank from number 1 to number 7. History Day is a consensus judging process. We ask you, when you're viewing the projects, to please evaluate the entries at the time that you are viewing them, either on paper or in Z-Fairs. Take those notes while the projects are fresh in your mind. After you've viewed all the entries, discuss the projects with your judging teammates. Make sure that your evaluations and your comments are within close range. Finalize your project rankings as a team working together. We will also ask you for your feedback on projects that should be considered for special awards. Finalize your evaluations with one another. If you are writing your evaluations in Z-Fairs, you can click Save and Share with Team to allow your judging teammates to see your evaluations. Every judge on the team will turn in their own evaluation at checkout. If there are 2 judges on a team, there should be 2 evaluations of that project. If there are 3 judges and a team, we should have 3 evaluations of that project. The judge captain is also responsible for submitting the ranking form to the contest coordinator. We prefer typed evaluations in Z-Fairs if it is possible. If you have a laptop or tablet that you feel comfortable bringing to the contest, your evaluation may move more swiftly. If you prefer to work on paper, or if you don't have a device, we will have paper evaluations available as well. Here you will see an example of what the judging portal looks like. On the left-hand side, you'll see the time and title of each entry that you will be looking at in your judging set. If you click on View and Evaluate, that will open up the judging evaluation form so that you can mark the evaluation rubric and provide comments accordingly. As you view the projects, you should fill out your evaluation rubric while the project is still fresh in your mind. But you should also plan to come back to the rubric after you've met with your judging partners to make any revisions that come out of the discussion process. When you and your partners discuss the entries, please make sure that your evaluation scores are close to one another. You do not need to have the exact same boxes checked, but they should be within close range of one another. It's okay if one judge feels that the primary sources are exemplary and the other judge feels that they are proficient, but it is confusing to the student if one judge marks exemplary and the other marks developing or novice. Here you will see the bottom portion of the evaluation rubric where you will write your comments. The section in white, Strengths and Areas for Improvement, will be seen by students. The pink section at the bottom will not be seen by students. Remember, students will see what you have written in the Strengths and Areas for Improvement section. Take care and be kind. Remember to sandwich your comments starting with a positive comment first, then include constructive feedback in the middle, and end with another positive message. Remember that you will need to write at least 500 characters. The system will not let you fully submit the evaluation until you have reached that 500 character minimum. When you are ready for your judging partners to see what you have written, click on Save and Share with Team. If you are unable to judge a project because the student has not shown up, click the No-Show button in the lower right. Finally, the judge portal for judge captains will include a Submit Ranking button where judge captains can enter their rankings for their room. Finally, we ask you to alert a History Day staff member if you suspect any disqualifying offenses: plagiarism, reusing an entry or any part of an entry from a previous year, tampering with another student's entry, or entering a project in multiple contests or entry categories within a given contest year. We also encourage you to reach out to us if you are concerned that none of the entries that you are assigned should advance to the state competition, or if you have questions about the interpretation of the rules. Please reach out at any time when you have concerns about the judging process. If you have any questions, please reach out to us at historyday@chicagohistory.org. If you need assistance on contest day, you can call or text 312-772-5426. Finally, a reminder, if your schedule changes or you become ill, please communicate with us as soon as possible so that we can find a substitute to take your place. We very much look forward to having you involved on February 28th and March 7th, and we can't wait to see you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your time and investment in Chicago area youth.